Random forest is a very popular machine learning algorithm that is used to carry out classification, where we are trying to predict a class or a category, and it can also be used for regression, where we're trying to predict a continuous numeric variable. Within petrophysics, we can use random forest for predicting continuous permeability from core measurements, or we can also use it to carry out lithology classification, which we're going to see in today's Jupyter notebook. At a very high level, random forest is essentially a collection of decision trees, and we use decision trees every day to make decisions about our life, whether we're going to go out, or whether we're going to go to the shops, or whether we're going to wear a jacket if it's raining, or wear a hat if it's sunny. So let's have a look at a very simple explanation of what random forest is.
In this simple example, we have a series of data points on a scatter plot. We have orange points and blue points representing different classes. To split this data up into decision trees so that we can use for future prediction, we first need to make an initial decision on where to split our data and attempt to separate the classes. We can see that when we have done this, we end up with a number of orange points on the left hand side of the line and a mixture of blue points and orange points on the right. We can continue splitting the data based on a number of other conditions until we have successfully separated out the different classes. Once we have done so, any new data that is presented to the tree for prediction will follow the correct path until it reaches a final node.
Now this is a very simple example where we're just using 2 dimensions and 2 classes. However, real world data can be messy, and we can have multiple classes and multiple features within our dataset. And as a result, we may not end up with pure leaf nodes, and those are the nodes at the end of each decision tree. So we may end up with more blue points in one node compared to the orange points, and we would then have to use a process called majority voting to make a final classification of what that node should actually be.
To build up our random forest, we combine multiple decision trees, and these decision trees will have formed differently due to the different features being used and also from different samplings of the data. So when it comes to running a random forest algorithm, we first take our data and randomly sample it. We can then make it more random by providing different input features to the trees. The trees are then built from the supplied data, and then we can pass any new data to these trees for prediction, and that data will end up going through the process and end up at a final node, which will then give us a result for each tree. We may not get the same result from all of the trees, so we can take a majority vote, in other words, what class has been predicted the most, and then use that as our final prediction. So this is just a very simple high-level overview of how random forests and decision trees work, and in a future video I will go into a bit more detail about the inner workings of how the splits are made and how we can use this for regression-based problems.
Now we understand the basic intuition behind random forests. So let's now hop over to our Jupyter notebook and see how we can carry out a classification of some lithology data from well-log measurements.
So now that we're in our Jupyter notebook, we are going to create a very simple multi-class classification model using random forest to predict lithologies. So for this, what we're going to need is we're going to need some libraries that are going to allow us to load data in. So we're going to do a bit of pre-analysis and pre-processing first before we can go on to running the classifier. So for this we need to import Pandas, matplotlib, Seaborn, and missing no. So the first step is obviously to load in our data. So we're going to be loading data in from the Zeek Force 2020 training dataset that was used for a machine learning competition from a couple of years ago. I will include the link down in the description below if you want to find out more about this dataset, as it contains over 100 wells with lithology data and a lot of well log data that can be used to train a classification based model. So first we'll run the cell to import our libraries, and then we will import the data. To check what we actually have in the data, we can call upon df.describe, and we get back the summary statistics of the data. So we've got our depth curve, caliper curve, deep resistivity, rho B for our bulk density, GR for gamma ray, and so on. Now that's not all that's in the data, so if we call upon df.info, we can see that we've got 12 columns within our data frame, compared to what we had up here where we've got a few of them, and these are the numeric ones that are displayed here. However, we can see that we've got some non-numeric ones such as the group, formation, and our target feature, which is lith. So let's just have a little bit of an explore of this data and to understand what our target lithology or lith curve actually contains. So if I call upon df and pass in lith for lith, we can then call upon n unique, and this will give us a number of unique classes within that particular column. So as you can see, we've got 11, but we don't know what they are yet, so we can copy this down into the next cell, and instead of using n unique, we just call upon unique, and this returns back a list of all the lithologies or the text that is contained within that column. So we can see that we've got shale, sandstone, sandstone shale, limestone, tuff, etc. So that gives us an indication of the different classes that are present within that lith column. So the next important part of looking at our data is to deal with the missing data. One thing is that many machine learning models are not able to handle missing data very well, so we need to remove them from the model before we put the data into the model. And one of the most common ways of doing that is to drop any row where any of the columns has a missing value, and this is known as list-wise deletion, and this is probably the simplest way. However, you have to bear in mind that this reduces the size of your data sets, and it could be a significant reduction. So there are other ways out there where you can repair the data and you can infill those values from, say, another regression model. So let's just have a look at our data. So let's call upon mno.bar, and then we pass in our data frame, and this returns a bar chart of our values. So we can see that some columns are complete, such as the well name and the depth MD. And some of the other columns, such as NumPy, is a lot less. So we can see that those columns may cause problems. So we could, just for simplicity, just drop all missing values, and that would solve this issue. However, we would be going from about 133,000 down to approximately 90,000 values. So that would be a significant reduction of data where we could potentially have good data. So we could build a model without these columns, or we could infill these values with other methods. To drop the data, we call upon df.dropNA, and then we type in place is equal to true. And what this will do is it will drop those missing values and it will apply it to the original data frame. And that is what in place equals true means. We could also do df is equal to df.dropNA, and then open close brackets without any arguments in, and it would also achieve the same thing. So let's run that, and then we call upon mno.bar and pass in the data frame, and then look at our values now. So we're down to 81,586 values, and we've got complete values within our data set. So now we can move on to creating the random forest model. And the first step is to import some of the libraries and the modules that we're going to be working with, and all of these are going to be from sklearn. So the first one is train test split from model selection, and then the metrics, which is a classification report, confusion matrix, and accuracy score. And then we're going to import the random forest classifier from sklearn.ensemble. We're going to then select the inputs and the target. So for X, I'm going to be using rdep, rb, gr, NumPy, PEF, and DTC. And then for the target, we're going to be targeting the lithology column that we've just been exploring up above. So in order to understand how well our model is performing and how we can tune that model, we need to split that data out into a training data set and a testing data set. And this is common practice within the machine learning world where we want to evaluate our models. And we can do that simply by creating a number of variables, xtrain, which is going to be our training data, which is going to be these input curves here. And then we're going to be calling upon creating a variable called xtest, and this is our test data. And then ytrain, which is going to be our training labels for our model, and then we create ytest. So if I call upon train, test split, and then pass in x and y, and set the test size to 0.3, what this means is that the data that we've got here in x and y is going to be split 70-30. So 70% of the data is going to go into the xtrain and the ytrain variables. And then the remaining 30% is going into the xtest and ytest variables. So what we can then do is, once we've created our model using xtrain and ytrain, we can then come back to the xtest data and then run our prediction model to understand how well our model is predicting against that test data. And we've got the ytest labels to compare against. And then the next step is to create the model. And we're going to be doing that by creating a classifier, which is CLF for short. And you could name it anything you want, model or RF, depending on how you want to work. So for this, I'm going to set this to random forest classifier. And we don't have to provide any arguments if we don't want to. We can run with the defaults. So if we hit Shift Tab here, we can see the defaults that are used by the random forest classifier. So the number of estimators is set to 100, and this basically means 100 trees within the forest. We can see that there's no maximum depth, and we can see the minimum number of samples to split. And there's further details about each of the parameters the further down you scroll. So that sets up our classifier, so that is just assigning it to CLF. We then need to fit that classifier to our data, which is done by clf.fit. And then we pass in our training data, which is xtrain and ytrain. So now we're fitting our classifier, the random forest classifier, to our data, and it's building the model in the background. So now that we've done our classification and built our model, we now need to do our prediction. We can do that by creating a variable called y_pred, and we'll set that to classifier or clf.predict. And now we're going to predict on the xtest dataset. So we've created our model using the training data, and now we're evaluating it on the test dataset. So now that that's been done, we can start to evaluate our model. And the first metric we're going to look at is the accuracy. So if I call upon accuracy, so I can call upon accuracy score that we've imported up above here, and then we pass in the y-test, which is our test data set, and then our y-pred, which is what we've just predicted. And this returns back a number of 0.911. And this provides an indication of the performance of the model, and it is simply the ratio of the correctly predicted observations within the dataset compared to the total observations. So even though accuracy is a great measure, we need to look at a few other metrics, including precision, recall, F1 score. And we can do that by using the classification report that we've imported. If we go down here, we can call upon classification report, and what we're going to do is pass in y_test and then y_pred. So we just need to wrap that in a print statement so that it prints correctly with the new line characters. And when we run that, we then get back each of the lithologies or the classes within our dataset, as well as the precision, recall, F1 score, and support. So once we've viewed the classification report, we can then move on to one of my favourite tools, and that is the confusion matrix. And this tells us how our model predictions compare against the actual results. So if I create a new variable called cf_matrix is equal to confusion matrix, and we pass in our y_test and y_pred, and then we print cf matrix. We get back a simple table. However, it's a little bit bland, it's a little bit confusing as to what is what here, especially when we are trying to identify what lithologies are on each of these rows and columns. So one way we can do that is to use Seaborn. So what I've done here is I've taken the labels from earlier in the code, so where we are back up here, where we've got our array with our labels, shale, sandstone, sandstone, shale, etc. Copied that down into a variable here so that we've got our labels, and then I'm just applying a sort method. So the next step is then to create the Seaborn figure. We've already imported Seaborn at the start, so we don't need to import it again. And what we're going to do is create a figure object, which is 10 by 10, and we're going to create an axis on that with a heat map. And we're going to pass in this confusion matrix. We're then going to include the annotations, and we're going to set it to red. And then we've just got the titles and the labels, so actual values and predicted values, as well as the full title. So if we run the cell before where we create the labels and then run the figure, We then get back a Seaborn confusion matrix with the correct labels. We can see our actual values on the y-axis here and our predicted values on the x-axis. And then the colour scale is going from 0 to around about 14,000, 15,000. So what does this actually tell us? Well, we can see that we've got actual values of anhydrite as 20 and anhydrite has been predicted for each of these. So we've done a very good job there. We can see then at chalk, for example, we've got 470 points have been accurately predicted as chalk. However, 186 values have been incorrectly predicted as limestone. And then 1 value incorrectly predicted as marl, and then 6 as sandstone, etc. If we come down to the shale, we can see that 14,435 points have been correctly predicted as shale, but there are some points that have been incorrectly predicted. So for the shale data, we've got 326 points predicted as sandstone shale, 180 as sandstone, so it's not quite worked 100%, which is what we would expect with our model. We've not done any tuning to the data, we've not balanced the data set, so we do have a few issues with that. And this is just a great way to visualize how well your model is performing and how well it is predicting against the true values.
And there we have it. We've seen how to run a random forest regression in Jupyter Notebooks. It is a very simple process and can be very powerful. If you have enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content from this channel, be sure to click on that subscribe button and ding that notification bell. So thanks for watching, and until next time, bye for now.